It's been a little since we last read from the Tales of Tamriel, Book 1, The Land. We've discussed Valenwood and the Bosmer, the Dawn Era and the Merethic Era, and we've also discussed a little bit about Queen Ayrenn. The following passages we're reading from the book today include a little more about Queen Ayrenn, some art and literature from the Aldmeri Dominion, notes on Elven architecture, and much more. So with all of that said, sit back, relax, and enjoy some readings from the text, Tales of Tamriel, Book 1, The Land. The first passage is titled Life in the Eagle's Shadow, and the author/storyteller is unknown. This passage is told from the perspective of a citizen around the time of Queen Ayrenn's inauguration. A new year and a new start. Sarun agreed to be my betrothed last night. I'm the luckiest mer in Matheson. I've already made arrangements with Yondon to use the forge. I'm going to melt down my father's old blade and use it as the base for a ring of Mara. Matheson's steel is good enough for the troops, right? It will be good enough for my true heart. Third sun's dawn. The heralds are shouting in every square across the island. There's a new queen, and we're now a part of some kind of alliance with the Wood Elves and the Khajiit of all people. The Aldmeri Dominion, they're calling it. I couldn't be prouder, but father has done nothing but grumble. He says letting those kind of folk onto the island will be bad for business. 10th sun's dawn. Sarun and I sneaked out in the middle of the night and made for Skywatch. It was so exciting bedding down by the side of the road. Like we're in the Fighters Guild. The handbills telling of the parade have been all over the island, and we decided we couldn't let something like this pass us by. I'll be thrice cursed by the old mer, I know it, but damn him for a fool. Miss a chance to see the queen, the Main, and the Bosmer tree thanes? Not on your life. 11th sun's dawn. If today was any indication, father was right. The parade was amazing, with Her Majesty leading a phalanx of marines up the path to the gates. Then came the tree thanes, with their wily jungle rangers. Vine Dusk, I think someone said? And then the Main, with those braids. Amazing to see the Khajiit warriors on display. Much more pleasing than the furry sneak thief I caught with his hand in my coin purse. I tried to catch him before he made off, but he dove between some of those damn dock workers who were so obsessed with their frog races they didn't even look up. And then he was gone. Sarun said it was alright, that we just leave earlier than we'd planned. Damn it, just hate to let her down. 17th sun's dawn. Damn them all. Everything has been a mess since Sarun and I came back from Skywatch. Father was furious that we'd left, and when I told him how many coins that cat took, old bastard hasn't beat me like that since I was learning the forge. Then, a few days ago, they pulled all of us into the Forge Master's office. Condolin had gotten word that, with the new alliance, tradesmer can start hiring some of those folk. Tossing a certain number of jobs to them would net you extra coin from the Thalmor. And so, he dropped father's contract. Been with the forge for decades, and now catmen and cannibals are doing the job. All because of this damned alliance. Father's beside himself. About the steel more than anything. Says they won't know how to cure it right. Stars above. What's happening? Second first seed. My life is ruined. I'm on the run and everyone I knew and loved hates me. Damn the Dominion and our smiling queen to boot. It all started when that recruiter for the Battle Reeve came to town. He was looking for volunteers for the Dominion military. When no one came forward, he'd said he'd been empowered to take conscripts. He tapped me and Sarun's brother. He also grabbed the twins Talaril and Tanaril, shoved us into a line with a gang of others, and started us down the road. We weren't a mile before Tanaril snapped, went crazy, screaming about how he couldn't fight dark elves, that they use your body to hatch spiders in. He made a break for it, and a bunch of us used the chance to run as well. I'm holed up in a cave near Silsalen. My father is penniless. My bride-to-be will soon think of me a traitor. The damn cats and runty elves are taking over the island, and the military is putting children on the front lines. This isn't the homeland I grew up in. 5th first seed. I was reduced to trying to steal something for my evening meal, and of course, I was caught. I slipped into Silsalen after dusk. The smell of some delicious white fish wafting on the breeze. I hadn't eaten anything worthwhile since the morning the recruiter came into town, when I had that delicious spiced bread Saroon's mother made. I slipped into town and tracked the smell to the local inn. I was trying to figure out how to get into the kitchen when a big, beefy hand fell on my shoulder. One of the Cannon Reeves men. He knew exactly what I was doing, almost like he'd been watching me since I got into town. Now, I'm sitting in a cell underneath the Reeves manse, waiting his justice. At least they let me keep the journal here. Damn you, Aaron. Damn you, Dominion. 10th First Seed. My old life is over, and my new life under the veil has begun. It turns out the Cannon Reeve himself, an honorable man named Villano, has experienced his own doubts about his future under the Dominion. He used to be a good friend to the Queen, even, but worries now the years have changed her. Villano is a member of a group called the Veiled Heritants. They're a group of freedom fighters willing to do what has to be done. They're willing to make the hard choices and stop the spread of foreign influence on our soil. I was brought up out of that cellar below Silsalin thinking I was going to do hard labor. Instead, I found a new family. Villano said he knew all about my problems, even knew that I'd been taken by a Dominion recruiter, said that he was willing to help, and help me help myself. And I will. The next passage is titled Notes on Elven Architecture by Gastonus Florus, Mason's Guild historian. Soaring and graceful, or static and repetitive, High Elf architecture divides Imperial critics much like a painted cow at a Reachman feast. Their curved gables and strong, pointed steeples emphasize height, with ceilings a giant would have trouble scraping his head on and rooftops stretching proudly up toward the firmament. Their structures provide a visual echo to the High Elves' appearance, as they try to contrast their structures with the abodes of other races. The more perceptive of historians, such as Canterbury Congonius of Skingrad, have discerned clear similarities when comparing settlements of the Aldmeri and the Ayleid, unmistakably because they share the same ancestors. Where the Ayleids departed Somerset Isle, the Altmer remained, yet their structures share many common elements. One only need walk the ruins near Breville, then compare paintings of Skywatch for corroboration. Subtle changes are less obvious. While the Altmer are snobbish, they never sank to Ayleid levels of perniciousness, and the more refined buildings of Auradon reflect this. Such structural designs stem from ancient roots, using methods tried and tested, but not to the point of becoming obsolete. The Altmer seek refinement rather than innovation, and they are conceitedly resistant to large-scale changes but are content to tinker. The results reveal highly sophisticated precision, harmony, and the selection and repetition of orthodox compositions. The next passage is titled The March Explored, and the writer/storyteller is Fenlil the Wayfarer. The March Explored, Chapter 1. Gentle reader, welcome. Welcome to Open Skies and Red Earth, the fields of grass and savage landscape of elsewhere. Welcome, reader, to the end of the world, to the Reaper's March. Herein, find an unedited journal of observations, thoughts jotted down during my first trip across the stark landscape. Some of the hidden gems of the land, some of the most striking locales will see description in these pages. From I, your humble guide, enjoy. Chapter 2. The march marks the eastern boundary of Valenwood, and thus a boundary of the ancient diaspora. While the rare pile of stones can be found deep into elsewhere, the ruins of the march provide some of the most interesting insights into Ayleid psychology. We then have a jump to Chapter 6. There is no truth to the rumors of dark cults in the march. I can assure you, gentle reader, bandits may take your goods and threaten your life, but the fell princes of oblivion hold no sway in this savage land. Chapter 7. I will say this for the Khajiit. Their architecture is wholly unique on the continent of Tamriel. The beauty of their temples is awe-inspiring to behold. The House of the Dance in Ralka is a wonder. It's a shame then that so many of their greatest monuments are decayed and ruined. So many fine places fall into disrepair. It seems to be a theme across the face of Nirn, does it not, reader? Beauty and splendor fallen into ruin over time. And then it jumps to Chapter 9. And I must confess, I don't understand it at all. I've spent 6 seasons in the March, all told, and the lunar religion of the Khajiit makes just as much sense to me now as it did when I first arrived. Something about the pull of the moon on the waters of your mind, I don't know. Thank Auriel, we High Elves have a finer, cleaner sensibility to our religious studies. The next passage is called The Eagle and the Cat, by Lord Gareshri, speaker for the Main. A wife, a husband, a son or daughter, mother or father, aunt or uncle. Each of us has lost one or more of these. It has touched every family and elsewhere. The dreadful epidemic, the terrible plague, the Notten flu. It started in Sankal, on Sweet Street in the Black Kirgo slums, among the skooma-struck. At first, the city elders dismissed it as a toxin in the goods, but then it spread to Daggy's Pride and Squint Eye, and was reported from the docks in Alabaster as well. And suddenly, it was everywhere. Torval, Orkrest, Dune, Corinth, and all points in between. The winds of Canarthi bore the coughing and retching to every ear. We seemed to be witnessing the death of cats on Nirn. Slowly, elsewhere began to fight back against its doom. Clan mother Mizabako of Corinth first identified how the flu spread from Khajiit to Khajiit. Rathuni La Dawnwhisker, a daughter of Azura from Riverhold, distilled a sorghum tea that mitigated the worst of the symptoms. Even I contributed, organizing the remnants of the Main's Legion to maintain order and put this new knowledge to use. But it was not enough. Everywhere, Khajiit were dying by the litter, by the pride, by the entire tribe. The Moon Bishops read the portents, and they were dire indeed. Then, past all expectation, help arrived from an unforeseen direction. Over western waves came the elves of Somerset, bringing physicians, healers, desperately needed supplies. And one more thing, hope. Hope that elsewhere would survive. At first, many cats were suspicious. Never before had the haughty elves helped the Khajiiti. Why now? But their cannon reeves passed among us, as if unafraid of the flu, and explained the Altmer did it not from friendship, but from policy. We needed their help now, and they would need our help later. Invaders were coming to southwest Tamriel, they said, and the High Elves could not repulse them without Khajiiti claws at their side. To fight against mutual enemies. That was a logic we catfolk could understand. So, we accepted the aid of the High Elves and their sly cousins, the Wood Elves, and gradually, the Notten flu began to recede. And when Queen Aerin of Alinor proposed the alliance treaty of the Aldmeri Dominion, we took plume in claw and signed it. Now, fellow Khajiiti, we have been through the forges of torment, and with our new allies, we emerge stronger than ever. We welcome the chance to test blade and edge against these invaders, to spill their blood and take their bright objects, for now is the time of the Dominion. The final passage for today is titled The Lay of Firsthold, and it reads as a poem. Their tribulations drove the elves cross slothful seas to Somerset. O Aldmeris, old Elnofi, your loving visage haunts us yet. Your Zephyr's kiss enthralls us still, though only in heart's memory, and sorrow to the marrow's deep infuses every Aldmeri. When Magnus sinks and night hour comes, and owl and spectre prowl and creep, when eyes can gaze at stars no more, then fancy flits across the deep. Where Altmer came to eastern isles, escaping doom oblivious, to Oredan, hue imbued with spectrum vivid various. From foam it rose before the ships, 9 prows did plow the gleaming strand. Toranon stepped from the foremost craft, and claimed as kinhold all the land. From silver beach to green-clad hills, begilded by the golden dawn. Oredan thus was the name, bestowed upon that realm anon. Though wild it was, at once it gripped Toranon's once remorseful heart. He drew his blade, he drew his blood, and swore an oath to ne'er depart. They disembarked upon the shore, built kinhouse, garden, forge, and hive. They tamed the meadows, beaches, fields, and made a home where elves could thrive. Then, howling from the hills in hate, came horrors horned, bedight with eyes. Giatis, Welwa, Iliadi, all sought the Altmer's cruel demise. Some said they should take ship anew, and seek a farther, safer shore. But bold Toranon valor steeled, and drawing on ancestral lore, Haragrim with Varla stones, he wove upon Oredan's loom. drew power down from the stars above, and drove fell monsters to their doom. He harried them cross hills and heights, all smiting them with magics dire, till one by one they fell at last, to blast of lightning, ice, or fire. So warded then by spells well spun, Auradon bloomed beneath the touch of Altmer craft and husbandry, imagiform and sculpture. Much admired by other Altmer were Torinon's brave achievement there, and other kinholds followed fast on Somerset, so blast, so fair. But though those kinholds prospered well, throughout the archipelago, Aldmeri landfall all recall, upon the Firsthold shore did show, and bold Torinon is revered for courage, wisdom, foresight, he who harnessed heaven to defend the Aldmer in extremity. Auradon excellent abode, Moramur repel, expel all slowed. And thus ends today's readings of the Tales of Tamriel, Book 1, The Land. In future readings, we'll be discussing more about the Aldmeri Dominion, the Ebonheart Pact, and the Daggerfall Covenant. Until next time, keep on adventuring.